Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. I wanted to look a little bit on the basics of Redstone because there's a lot of people, including me actually sometimes, that watch tutorials on how to do specific Redstone. But when you watch a tutorial you don't really get a general understanding of the blocks and what do what. And if you don't already know, then this video will explain a little on how the different stuff work, the limitations of the block and what not to look at and look after. So, I mean, here we of course have our basic, really the basics, and it's pretty much just a power source, what you want to power, and of course the wiring. And then you start working into delay with repeaters. We have the 4-tick, the 3-tick, the 2-tick, and the 1-tick delay, which will of course have different delays on them. Of course, makes sense. And they will power things through time. When the more delay you have, the longer it's going to take before you power something, of course. And repeaters are a genius thing, of course. They really do, so you can time things right. Otherwise things would be much harder to do if we didn't have repeaters. And then we have this weird thing, the daylight sensor. This is, of course, this can be used in a lot of ways. I've done a little use for it throughout my time playing, but you basically use this to detect daylight. Well, of course that makes sense, but there are some weird components with this, and I will gladly say some of them I didn't know. Because of course the night sensor, it's not gonna power anything during the night, and the daylight sensor will. But they don't go through one block. It's not a one block, but if you do like this, it will power. So we know for sure that it powers the block underneath it, but the block underneath it can't power further. So it powers the block underneath, but the block can't transfer any of the power further, which is an interesting thing to take note of. Of course you can power it to the side, and yeah, this of course didn't work because, as mentioned, it doesn't power to the side. But this is where things get kind of weird. This is a night sensor, or yeah, what you should say. That powers the block, but it's daylight, and it's just covered with a block. But a daylight sensor covered with a block is still turned on, because that over here works that it has to need to have direct contact with the sky, a connect, like, and of course a visible line to the sky. But the daylight sensor, however, works on light level, which is interesting to take note of because it's only sun level lighting level. Because if artificial lighting, like we see, if it had been like that, if it was just normal light level that you could power with torches or something, it would have been going forever because then it would still be bright enough. But that's not how it is. So this works on light level from the sun, and this one works on direct contact with the sky, which is interesting, to say the least. That makes a little bit of adjustment to what you can do with them. And of course over here we have a little bit about tick and delay, for that sake, because this is a observer clock. It's one of the most simple things you can do, and this constantly fires a pulse every few or so ticks, and this one is always lit, but this one is just put on delay, a 4-tick delay, and it switches because this one doesn't have time to turn off before it gets powered again. So this is where the repeaters really shine. It's to test the delay and to understand that the ticks need to match up right if you want to do it the way you want to. Now moving on to pistons. Pistons are a little bit more funny, I guess you could say, because of course this is an activated piston, works quite the way, and when you turn it off it retracts because you put in power to the block, which basically is already powered in a sense, and that turns off the torch and when you move that. So this just works as this basically an off switch for doing things the way you want to. It's a little bit more complicated. It doesn't really matter with a lever, but it's more when you get into buttons or pressure plates and stuff like that that aren't always on, that you want to use a always active piston until you want to turn it off. This, however, is another example. This should, in theory, power it if you set it like that, but it doesn't because this does not affect blocks above it. So if you want normal redstone to be doing like that, you can basically just, it needs to be on the side of things. But we could also make it like this and with a repeater. Of course, again, it's pretty much the same principle as over here, but except this is just gonna be bigger in that sense. And now I wanted to take a look at this because this is also one of the things that I didn't know. This makes absolutely zero sense because you take these two and you just plunk them together and you're like, oh, well, this doesn't power it, but well then what's going on over here? This is a weird mechanic and I truly don't understand it fully, but you basically just power the piston, and a powered piston is apparently a piston that can be powered from the top as well. As said, I don't fully understand it, but it's a thing apparently. Also, when it comes to piston doors, as I mentioned earlier with the always active, we have the always active part here, and of course the repeater going in. This is a very broad design, it's just an easy illustration, but when you flick this you basically switch the on and off, because then this part becomes on and this part becomes off, which will help a lot in those senses. And again, back with the on and off thing, this is just a different interpretation of how you can do it. And then we're moving on to comparators. Comparators is an amazing thing, and excuse me. They help you a lot. I use them a lot to detect items. If I do sorting systems and stuff like that, you can basically put this in and the comparator detects, okay, we have something in the chest, and it powers this. Now the comparator works this way: as more that's in the thing that it's detecting, it could be a power level, and so on, or items in the chest or a hopper. For example, over here we have a hopper clock. Now hopper clocks are interesting. You can use them to make a lot of different things, and this will just basically switch around until the power comparator, doesn't have enough items left in it that it switches back and forth. So this you could use to make different kinds of powering. And another thing I wanted to talk about, because it's truly important if you want to get into some more hidden stuff or other than, is to use blocks that are visible. Like, you need to color coordinate it, because if you have more than one redstone function bundled together and stuff like that, you're gonna get confused quite easily, and that would be easier if you had the circuits running on different kind of colors. If you have 3 circuits and then ran these colors in one circuit, you wouldn't have to okay, which one is this, unless you're an absolute mastermind and know it. And this, if you're doing it on a survival world and stuff like that, if it's gonna be hidden, it could be a necessity to have it around blocks like this, but also it's gonna be a pain because you wouldn't really realize it unless you're spending time counting blocks and whatnot. So this is by far an easier method of doing it, but if it's a necessity that something is supposed to be hidden or something, you can use general blocks. I just recommend this one over here if it's already hidden, for example, or if it's just a little fun project you're doing. Now, moving on to a bit, you have the different incomes of power, because as you see, this doesn't work. It powers this block, but this block doesn't transfer the power to the other side, which is funny when you think about it, because this does, and it's just a repeater. So things do affect differently, and that's why I want you to test things out whenever you're trying to make new things, because things behave differently and it doesn't always make the most sense. But that's why you need to understand the basic mechanics of redstone. Now you see, this is again the same principle. This will turn it off, and this will also turn it off. But so that's kind of the thing with the different stuff, that it's working very differently. And then we have some examples. Basically, I wanted to show you can also use slabs. Even though the redstone might not be visibly connecting, it's still powering. But there's some catches with slabs, of course. As you see, this will not power, and because this one is not really connected to the thing, well, this one will power because the redstone's running over it, of course. So that makes perfect sense. Now this one will also power because you have the redstone running into a block, powering the block, and the block will then transfer it down. And then this will power it, because here's the thing, this is a full block, it will power the redstone lamp, but this is a slab, it won't power it. It's the exact same design, except this is a full block. So things are to take note of these things. And back to it again, we saw that over here this thing don't power, this really will, but it doesn't power this either. So things like this is worth taking note of, because you see the redstone is not getting powered here, but it's getting powered over there. But the only difference is a lamp, which of course a lamp can't transfer. But that's the thing, it's again the mechanics and the weird stuff about it. They work totally different, and some stuff does something and then does something completely other than planned when you're over here. Now back to some things. It's pressure plates. We have, of course, the heavy weighted pressure plate and the light weighted pressure plate. This one will increase a power level if for every entity in contact with it. As you see now, we have 2 armor stands and it's powering 2. So this only needs a few to power. However, this one is taking 10 entities for 1 line. That would mean we need 11 entities if we want to power the second, because this just powers the first one, right? And then 9 more will still only be enough to power the first one, until we go to 11, which is right now, and then it powers the next one. And of course at 21 it will power that, and then 31, 41, 51, 61. And if you just want to power the block, it's just, you basically just need to go to 61. Yeah, it doesn't need anything else. But if you wanted to go further than that, if this was redstone, it would be 71, because yeah, the thing about that. And then I wanted to lay a little bit. This is more an illustration, because one thing I recommend you do when you're starting up on redstone is you get in the ideas, you figure out, okay, what do I want to make, and then you think about it and test around with it. And if you don't get ideas of what you want to make, you could always just you could always just try to think, go into some of your worlds and think, okay, how can I implement redstone into my builds like these? Now this is more like it's a piston door, but it's a double activated piston door. So if you wanted to run around with a friend or something and you wanted to experience having something like this and activating, you see this won't activate if you are standing on it differently, but if you throw a block on the first one and stand on it and then go over here, it will open and close again. So it's double activated, and it's really not, it's not compact at all. I just made this so it's easy to show off, but it's, you really have to get thinking on this. Of course I added some delay and stuff like that. I tweaked it so it works like I wanted to, and everything's gonna be really easy for you. You just need to practice and figure out what you want to make. If you want to be better at redstone and stuff like that, you figure out to yourself, what do I want to make, and then you make it happen. You make a little sketch of your survival world or something if you want to have something, and then you think about, okay, what are the mechanics and whatnot, what do I do to basically make this work. And that's is a tedious process, and of course you're gonna fail, and you're gonna fail over and over again, but whenever you get success, you're also gonna be pleased with it. And then after you get success, you can either go with that design or you can tweak yourself more to see, okay, how can I make this more compact, and will it be more efficient, and will it still work like I want it to if it's more compact. So that's kind of the thing we are looking at here. And the way I mean by implementing things into your build is like this. Okay, we have this, and whenever it turns to night, this turns on and it's displayed better, and it's, of course, it's a thing. And you could make this like, okay, I have something, this could be a mountain potentially, and this, it does shouldn't give it away, and then you have one block and you just press a button and it opens up and you go through it, like secret doors and stuff like that. It's everything you can imagine you want to make redstone out of. You should think about how you're gonna implement it and how you want it to work. Now this is no tutorial on how to do anything, basically it's just that you need to get the ideas, and if you have a hard time getting the ideas, you need to maybe think about your survival worlds, and of course think to yourself, how do I implement this into my world? And also whenever you do that, you want to of course think about the mechanics. Now I do believe pretty much everyone knows a little bit about the mechanics of redstone, you just don't know what to do with it. But I showed you a couple of examples on which things does what and what's possible and the limitations and all that, and I hope you go out and you make something that fits your style. Of course nothing can be compact to start off with. It's a thoughtful process doing something compact, because you basically need to know with yourself, where is everything gonna be going. So it's way easier to start off big, not in as a big project, but start off with a bigger area for something, so you kind of get the feel of how it's gonna go, and then you can work your way around making things more compact. And that's basically the premise I had with this video, is just to inform people on, of course, the mechanics of a lot of the redstone, and just how you get the general idea of how you want to make this some redstone. So yeah, that has been it for this video, and I of course hope this wasn't such a bad idea as it might seem, maybe, because I truly believe that some people might not be too informed. But yeah, anyways, if you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, it helps out a lot. And if you aren't, press that subscribe button. If you enjoyed the content here, I will definitely be uploading some more, maybe some more of these type of things. I don't know, it just needs to fit my style. And then of course I have my Halcyon series also, which is the SMP. But yeah, you can check that out if you want to. But anyways, Thank you for watching. This has been Matthias. I'm out. See you. Well, this is post edit. I just kind of realized that the sound wasn't really good. I'm still trying to figure out this new microphone, so yeah, excuse that. It doesn't sound as I wanted it to. So yeah, I hope you understand, and yeah, take care.